Hi, excuse me. Hi, and welcome back to my YouTube channel or blog or other YouTube channel. It depends where I end up posting this particular recording. Sometimes I put them on all of my platforms and sometimes only one. But today I'm going to share with you a recorded tape, and it never ceases to amaze me. Most of these tapes I've got are probably 50 years old, that I recorded many years ago in my own church, and some of them in other places that I've gathered from them. But a lot of them are 50 years old, but they're still going, and I've just been recording this one. I'm about to introduce it to you, and it still sounds okay. A little bit of a hum in the background of it, but it's still working fine. And so that people often say that audio cassettes don't last long. I think they do if you look after them, although I haven't really gone out of my way to look after all my tapes. They've been exposed to warm rooms at times. However, today, let's get down to business. Today is once again another message from my late pastor Frank Hunting, who I've spoken about many times before on my different platforms. And this particular day, Frank was a great advocate of, in our Christian life, and particularly in prayer, using our imagination. He believes that he did believe, and I'm sure he still does, that the gift of imagination that God has given to all of us is one of the greatest gifts we can have. It's not a spiritual gift, it's just a gift open to all of mankind. And he thinks we should use it and exercise it. So this sermon today, or this message today, it's not a sermon. He didn't want it to be a sermon. It's a bit like an experience, I guess. And he wanted this to be a different type of experience to the normal sermons that you hear in church. And he delivered this in church. I was there at the time. And the sermon is called "What Would Jesus Say?" Now, you can buy mugs and all sorts of things these days with "What Would Jesus Say?" just the letters representing that. You'll find that this is a little bit different to that idea of what would Jesus say. So sit back and listen to this, and I hope you engage in it. You are required to shut your eyes at one stage in this, and I think that that's a good idea. Please be aware, I'm aware of people that a lot of Christians would jump down on top of this straight away and say this is creative visualization, this is not Christianity. But the imagination is a faculty that God has given us, and I don't see any problem with this. It's not New Age teaching as far as I'm concerned, and some people would probably give us that sort of criticism. But that's okay. We're going to now enjoy this tape. So listen, and at the end of it, like if you like, subscribe if you wish, and I'll see you next time.
You may remember that I asked you to do something that would be very hard. We do get locked into routines, and we do get locked into patterns, and we like to have things happen just the way they always do. But you may remember that I asked you, if you would, to try to forget or not regard what I'm going to do now as a sermon or as an address. I want you, if you will, and this would be the hard thing I think, to use your imagination. I'd like one of these days perhaps to talk to you about the gift of imagination. It's God's greatest gift to human beings. I'm just talking about the natural gifts that we have, not the wonderful spiritual gifts he gives. And I want you to imagine that this morning you're not really sitting in the way that you are there, in own rows and on a hard pew. If you could, I'd like you to imagine that you're just sitting around in a little circle, a few of your friends, Christian friends, and there you are facing each other. But there's one very big difference. this time Jesus is sitting there with you. And he's in your group. And really, it's to him that you're going to listen. Now, I'd like to suggest to you that I don't think you'll have very much chance, and I'll run the risk of your going off to sleep. I don't think you'll have very much chance of imagining yourself to be in that little circle, sitting round, if you have your eyes open. You probably will be too conscious of me and those who are around you, or this building. And so I'm suggesting that you shut your eyes and picture yourself sitting as you have found yourself, perhaps at home, with your friends who love Jesus, and he is there and he's going to talk to you. And we're going to listen this morning to what Jesus would say, what he would say to us, you and me. Now, if you have and you are being able now to picture yourself in that little group, with the Saviour sitting right there in the midst, you are quite at ease, and you have in fact a rather lovely, restful feeling. You're quite relaxed. Sitting there in your group, you can feel a lot of love, his love, flowing from him to you. It is very warm, very comforting, very strengthening. And you can also feel love coming to you from the other members of the group. Their love is flowing to you. And a very real warmth is coming into your heart, because it's also a lovely experience. As you begin, your love begins to flow from you to the others. And in a lovely way, it begins to flow back to Jesus. Sitting there, relaxing and resting, you sense a lot of understanding coming to you. That's one of the lovely things that you're feeling at this moment. You don't need to be on your guard. You don't need to have any defense mechanisms operating. You feel fully accepted and completely understood. Perhaps you have had a bad week. Things have gone wrong. You have said a number of wrong things. There have been times when you've been uptight. And you've done some things about which you're not now happy. There have been some hurtful things in your week too. Some unhappy things have happened to you. Some things you thought hard and harsh have been said or were done to you. But now, in your group, in the presence of Jesus, you sense a perfect understanding. And you know that in your little group this morning, it won't matter what you say. You will be listened to, and you will be understood, and you will be fully accepted. So you and your friends are sitting round Jesus, very comfortable, relaxed, because you know you are fully accepted. And you don't need to be on your guard. And you don't need to be defensive. You are just enjoying this wonderful experience of being accepted and being understood. Now, what would Jesus say to you? If you are relaxed enough and quiet enough and still enough to hear only him speaking, to hear only his voice, you will hear this. And he's talking to you. From your life can flow rivers of living water. From you, he is saying, these rivers of living water can reach people around you. People who need someone to love them unconditionally. And as you listen, he says to you, from you can flow rivers of living water to people who need someone to be very gentle with them. People who need someone to take the trouble to genuinely understand them. From you can flow the rivers of living water to someone who needs the strength of a real friend. And he goes on and he's talking quietly. There are people that you know, he is saying. People you know, and it's from you that the river of living water must flow, because they need someone to accept them just as they are. They need someone who will believe in them, someone who will stand by them, encouraging them. From you, Jesus is saying, can flow rivers of living water. For you can practice loving difficult people. And then he quietly adds, did you recognize you were capable of this? You can surround them with love. That love that is coming from me to you can flow through you to them. You can send love vibrations all over the place to all sorts of people. You don't need to be with these people to direct your love to them. You can send your love to them wherever they are. And again, as you sit there relaxed, thrilling to the wonderful experience of being in the presence of your Saviour, he is quietly speaking to you again. From you, he says, can flow rivers of living water. You can lift people in need up to the very throne of God himself, right into the presence of God, where everything is good and lovely and beautiful and joyous and peaceful. You can lift your friends. You can lift those difficult people up into the presence of God, where everything is perfect harmony, perfect wholeness. This time with Jesus may be quite new to you. It may be you have never thought of talking to him like this, and of letting him talk to you like this. But you know that as he talks and as he speaks to you, he has said what is possible for you. Rivers of living water can flow from you, clean and pure and life-giving. These rivers that flow from you are the very life of Jesus himself, the resurrection life of the living Lord. And they can flow from you to others. I have just two things to ask you as I close. Have you this morning heard Jesus telling you that from within you rivers of living water can flow? Has it startled you? It's true. If you have heard him say it to you, will you believe him and take the steps to make it possible?